prices go up?
Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please. Right? Okay. Go ahead, please.
You won the White
Go
House
ahead.
in part.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, you are meeting Prime Minister Modi of India this
Yes.
afternoon. What kind of trade and tariff relations would you like to have with India, and what's the vision for India-US?
Yeah, India traditionally is the highest, just about the highest tariffed country. They charge more tariffs than any other country. And, I mean, we'll be talking about that, but again, whatever they charge us, we're charging them, so it works out very well. It's a beautiful, simple system, and we don't have to worry about, gee, we're charging too much or too little. But traditionally, India is right at the top of the pack, pretty much. There are a couple of smaller countries that are actually more, but India is a they charge tremendous tariffs. I remember when Harley-Davidson couldn't sell their motorbikes into India because of the fact that India, the tax was so high, the tariff was so high. And Harley was forced to build, I guess they built, I don't know, that was a while ago, but I think they built a factory in India in order to avoid paying the tariffs. And that's what people can do with us. They can build a factory here, a plant or whatever it may be here, and that includes the medical, that includes cars, that includes chips and semiconductors, that includes everything. If you build here, you have no tariffs whatsoever. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our country is going to be flooded with jobs.
What should consumers expect? Are prices going to go up short-term,
Well,
long-term?
not necessarily. I mean, not necessarily, but I'll tell you what will go up is jobs. The jobs will go up tremendously. We're going to have great jobs for everybody. This is something that should have been done many years ago. China did it. I mean, China did it at a level that probably nobody's ever seen before. If you manufactured a car, you couldn't send it into China. The tariff was so high, so everybody went and they built in China. It was no big secret. So we're going to see, but it's going to mean tremendous amounts of jobs. And ultimately, prices will stay the same, go down. But we're going to have a very dynamic country.
But if prices go up, Mr. President, because of these tariffs, who do you think voters should hold responsible?
Oh, I think what's going to go up is jobs are going to go up, and prices could go up somewhat short term, but prices will also go down. And I think the farmers are going to be helped by this very much because product is being dumped into our country, and our farmers are getting hurt very badly by the last administration. The last administration hated our farmers, like at a level that I've never seen before. I think our farmers are going to be helped. Jobs are going to be helped, but our farmers are going to be helped. Our manufacturers are going to be helped. And again, if somebody wants to come in, including the car companies, if they want to come in and build car plants, they'll do it without tariffs, and therefore prices won't go up. There could be some short-term disturbance, but long-term, it's gonna make our country a fortune.
So Americans should prepare for some short-term pain.
No, you said that. I didn't say that. You know?
Because if the prices go up,
Let's see what happens. Nobody really knows what is going to happen, other than we know that jobs are going to be produced at levels that we haven't seen before. We know that we think interest rates are going to ultimately be coming down because of things that happen, and they go hand in hand with the tariffs. But we think that the prices for some things, many things, it could be all things, will go down. Ultimately, will go down.
Mr. President, can you explain the timeline here, sir? There's a period of time for a review, a report, 180 days. What's the earliest date that you think tariffs will actually be implemented and executed?
Well, I would say, maybe I'll ask Howard to answer that, because he's going to be the one that's implementing. What do you think?
Our studies should be all complete by April 1st. So we'll hand the president the opportunity to start on April 2nd if he wants. So I think we'll be ready to go
Pretty
on
close.
April 1st, and we'll hand it to the president, and he'll make his decisions. But remember, if they drop their tariffs, prices for Americans are coming down. Our production's going up, and our costs are going down. Remember, it's a two-way street. That's why it's called reciprocal.
And have you spoken to any American CEOs directly about this? Are they calling you and asking
I've
for
spoken to
exemptions,
many,
for
and
example?
many love it. And they say this is going to be the thing that makes our country really prosperous again. And this is going to be what pays down to $36 trillion in debt and all the other things. And this is going to be This is an amazing day. I think this is going to be a very big day and in a very positive way for our country. Yes, please.
Mr. President, you've talked about the VAT and the EU before and your concerns with how the EU treats you. Do you have a number in mind on the European Union? Do you have an idea of where that number is going to land?
Well, what they are now is they have a 20% VAT tax, which we're considering to be similar or the same as the tariff. Plus, they charge lots of fees, and they're doing something else. European Union's been very tough on our companies. They sued Apple, they sued Google, they sued Facebook, they sued many other companies, and they're American companies, and the kind of numbers are staggering. And the court system over there is not very good to our companies. If you know that Apple had to pay, I think, $16 billion in a penalty, a court case that was really shocking because most people thought they would have won that court case, people that watched it. So they've been very tough. Airlines have called me up and they said, could you help us with Europe because they're charging us so many different fees. I got a call from the head of American, United, and other airlines saying, every time we land a plane, we get just absolutely killed by the European Union. And so they haven't been treated as good. We think the European Union is wonderful. We all love Europe, love the countries in Europe. But European Union has been absolutely brutal on trade. Canada's been very bad to us on trade, but now Canada's going to have to start paying up. And Canada's been tough on the military because they have a very low military cost. They think we're going to, protect them with our military, which is unfair. So Canada's going to be a very interesting situation because, we just don't need their product. And yet they survive off the fact that we do 95% of what they do. And Canada is just absolutely, I say it, and sometimes people smile and sometimes they say, great idea, but Canada, their taxes would come down greatly. Their security would go up greatly. Amazing things happen to Canada. And really Canada in this particular, why would we pay $200 billion a year in subsidies to Canada when they're not a state? You do that for a state, but you don't do that for somebody else's country. So I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
Negotiations ongoing with Canada. There was obviously a delay in implementing those tariffs.
I spoke to Governor Trudeau on numerous occasions, and we'll see what happens. But it just sets up so good for them. Look, the people would pay much less tax than they're paying right now. They'd have perfect military protection. They don't have any military protection because and you take a look at what's going on out there. You have Russian ships, you have China ships, you have Chinese ships, you have a lot of ships out there. People are in danger. This is a different world today. It's a different world. They need our protection, yes.
You mentioned Elon Musk and the efforts that he's undertaking with your
Yeah.
authority. You granted him new authority this week. Will he secure any new government contracts while he is working on DOGE?
No,
for
not
you?
if there's a conflict. If there's no conflict, I guess what difference does it make? But we won't let him do anything having to do with the
Are
conflict.
you personally checking to make sure there's no conflicts of interest?
Yeah, I am.
He answers to you.
Sure, he does. First of all, he wouldn't do it, and second of all, we're not going to let him do anything where there's a conflict of interest.
Mr. President, your negotiations with the EU there's discussions ongoing already. How quickly do you expect that you'll hear back from them about
I don't
any
know.
of these other
I can't tell
measures?
you, yeah. The EU's been very nasty. It's just been, they haven't treated us properly. Look, we were great to them on NATO. Essentially, it's a similar group of countries. When I came in, my first term, I raised their fees. I mean, they were not paying. We were paying for, in my opinion, almost all of NATO. And now, I had the bad moment with the press where the press said, well, does this mean you won't protect them? And I said, I won't protect them if they're not paying. But because I said that, the Secretary General, as you know, said it was the greatest thing he's ever seen because the money came pouring in. But they don't treat us right on trade. They don't treat us right on the military either. I mean, if you look at Ukraine, we're in for probably $200 billion more than Europe. Why are we in for more than Europe? We're in for more than Europe. I mean, think of it, or NATO. I mean, let's call it NATO because Canada's in. By the way, Canada is just about the lowest payer also, they shouldn't be. They are just about the lowest payer in NATO, in addition to everything else. So Canada's really been taken advantage of. And if they had to pay just something modestly fair, they wouldn't be able to succeed as a country. And that's why I feel they have to become a state. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you,
Very
Mr. President.
critical of-
Is it your expectation that partners will offer major concessions and that you actually don't end up applying those tariffs?
No, I think that a lot of them will stay the same, and whatever they pay, I'll pay. I mean, we'll have a lot of them stay the same. I think some, look, I heard they, as an example, EU lowered their tax on cars down to the exact same amount that they were much higher. They were approximately 5 times higher, and they lowered them down to the exact tax that we're charging. That took place like yesterday or the day before. Is that a correct statement? I think so, yeah.
Do you expect any exemptions or waivers?
I don't expect that, no. This is a simple system. I mean, there wouldn't be any. And in the case of Apple, I gave them a waiver, an exemption in my first term because Samsung was in South Korea. And Samsung didn't have to pay the tax because it was a tax on China. And Apple makes a lot of their product in China. So I did that because it wouldn't have been fair. But now this applies to everybody across the board. This is a much simpler way of doing it, much better way.
Mr. President, you had that major call yesterday with President Putin of
Yeah.
Russia. President Zelensky responded today, basically saying any agreements they won't accept unless they're made with Ukraine. Will Ukraine have a seat at that table for those
Of
negotiations?
course they would. I mean, they're part of it. We would have Ukraine, we'd have Russia, and we'll have other people involved too. A lot of people, a lot of forks in the, a lot of forks in this game. I'll tell you what, this is a very interesting situation, but the Ukraine war has to end. The young people are being killed at levels that nobody's seen since World War II, and it's a ridiculous war, and it has to end. We had a good talk with President Putin. I had a good talk with President Zelensky, very good talk. And somebody said, oh, I should have called Zelensky first. I don't think so. I mean, we have to find out whether or not Russia wants to make a deal. I know that Zelensky wants to make a deal because he told me that, but I now know that Russia wants to make a deal.
Did you ask Secretary Hegseth to walk back his comments yesterday saying Ukraine won't join NATO and won't go back to pre-2014
No,
borders because
no,
those are
I didn't, no.
bargaining chips you could use?
No, I didn't. Somebody told me to, but I thought his comments were good yesterday, and they're probably good today. They're a little bit softer, perhaps, but I thought his comments from yesterday were pretty accurate. I don't see any way that a country in Russia's position could allow them, just in their position, could allow them to join NATO. I don't see that happening. And long before President Putin, Russia was very strong on the fact that, I believe that's the reason the war started, because Biden went out and said that they could join NATO, and he shouldn't have said that. As soon as he said that, I said, you know what? You're going to have a war now, and I was right about that. This is a war that would have never happened if I were
But
president.
you don't think it's President Biden's fault, not President Putin? I mean, he's the one.
I think
who made
Biden
it.
is incompetent, and I think when he said that they could join NATO, I thought that was a very stupid thing to say. I thought when he said, well, it depends if it's a minor incursion. In other words, it's okay if Russia does a minor incursion. I thought that was a very foolish thing to say.
What should we expect
Those
on
things
auto?
got it started. The other thing that got it started was how badly Milley and these stupid people, the bad generals, how badly they did with Afghanistan. I was going to pull out, but we were pulling out with dignity and strength, and we were going to take our equipment with us and everything else. I mean, what they're doing is, what they did with that, I think Putin looked at that mess and he said, wow, this is a great time, I'm going to go in. But what the Americans said, I'm not blaming Americans, but I will say what they said had a big influence on his deciding to go in. Yeah.
When Elon Musk met with Prime Minister Modi earlier today, did he do so as an American CEO or did he do so as a representative of the U.S. government?
Are you talking about me?
No, Elon Musk.
Elon, I don't know. They met, and I assume he wants to do business in India. But India is a very hard place to do business in because of the tariffs. They have the highest tariffs just about in the world, and it's a hard place to do business. No, I would imagine he met possibly because, he's running a company. He's doing this as a as something that he's felt strongly about for a long time, because he sees what's happening, and he sees how the country is really being hurt badly by all of the fraud, waste, and abuse. Yeah.
So how does Modi know whether he's meeting with the CEO or meeting with a representative of your government?
Well, he's meeting with me in a little while, so I'm going to ask him that question. All right? I'll ask him that question. Yeah.
On auto tariffs, what should we expect, sir? You mentioned obviously steel and aluminum and pharmaceuticals. What are you thinking about auto tariffs? We haven't talked about that much.
I think autos are coming soon. I think they're all coming more or less at the same time. And it's not going to be a big shock to the system. But what it's going to do is it's going to bring pharmaceuticals back to our country. Much more important than the money. It's a lot of money, but it's going to bring pharmaceuticals back to our country. It's going to bring chips back to our country. It's going to bring automobile. We're going to do a lot more automobile manufacturing in our country. You know, when I did this, when I announced this during the campaign, they were going to build the largest car plant in the world in Mexico. It was almost under construction. It was just starting. And when they heard me make that statement, and they thought I was going to win the election, actually, it was a few months before the election itself. China was building the car plant. It was going to be the largest in the world. They immediately stopped construction. You can see the foundations there. They immediately stopped. When they heard I was doing this, that would have destroyed Detroit. It would have destroyed Michigan. This plant would have taken up more than almost the whole state built. And it would have been very destructive. When they heard me speak, and they said, wow, if he gets in, we're gonna lose our shirt. So they stopped building. That's the impact that tariffs have. Again, you know, I say it, and I say it loudly. It's the most beautiful word, but now I say religion, love, and a couple of other things are more beautiful, because I got in a lot of problem with the fake news when they said, oh, other things are more important. God is more important, but these are the words. But I would say it's number 4 or 5. To me, it's the most beautiful. And I'll tell you what, I think really reciprocal tariffs, those 2 words, reciprocal makes tariffs really fair.
There'd be no exemptions, right? It would be all auto imports?
Any exemptions now, because you don't need to. With reciprocal, you don't need to.
Has Gavin Clegg just arrived at the IRS?
Fox Radio. Do you have a update on the TikTok negotiations? And
Yeah,
kind of-
we have a lot of
that
people.
timeline's running out, isn't it?
Sure, well, I have 90 days from about 2 weeks ago, right? And I'm sure it can be extended, but let's see, I don't think you'll need to. We have a lot of people interested in TikTok, and I hope to be able to make a deal. I think it would be good. You know, people have learned it's very popular, and we'll have to probably get approval from China to do it, but we have a lot of people that are interested, and a lot of people, I think China will be interested because it's to their benefit too. So I look forward to that, but we have a lot of people that are interested in TikTok, quite a few.
Mr. President, Doge workers arrived today, Gavin Clegg and others arrived today at the IRS. Do you expect to close the IRS, or what are you expecting?
No, I don't expect it,
About
but,
the ERS.
but I
Someday.
think that the Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So it's, they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing. And you know, that force is building these, I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And you know, they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk because these people get it. They're very smart people. We need smart people. Yes. Brian?
On tariffs, sir,
Yeah, Brian?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I know that during the campaign, it was huge in Pennsylvania as far as bringing back manufacturing. Have you talked to any CEOs since the tariffs were announced on steel and aluminum? What's the feedback on those?
They are in love with it. As you know, in Pennsylvania, U.S. Steel is through the roof. They're all through the roof. That's why I didn't want U.S. Steel to make a deal with Japan or anybody else. I think it's going to do great. But I think maybe more than anybody else, the steel companies and aluminum companies, they're in love with what's happened. And this will eventually be the car companies and chip companies. We have to have chips made in this country. Right now, everything's made in Taiwan practically, almost all of it, a little bit in South Korea. But everything, almost all of it is made in Taiwan. And we want it to be made. We want those companies to come to our country, in all due respect. You know, they took the business away. Taiwan took our chip business away. We had Intel, we had these great companies that did so well, and it was taken from us, and we want that business back. We want it back in the United States. And if they don't bring it back, we're not going to be very happy.
And you
Sir, on
mentioned
tariffs, are you-
pharmaceuticals as well in China. That's national security to bring that back.
Yeah, China and other places. We want to get the pharmaceutical and drug business back into the United States, where it should be, right?
Sir, on tariffs, are you concerned that the countries that would be most affected, like India, would just shift their trading to China?
No, I'm not concerned about anything, really. I mean, I'm just doing what's fair. This is a very fair thing. This should have been done a long time ago. I would have done it, but then COVID hit. I was getting ready to do this years ago, and first time we had the most successful economy in history, and then COVID hit. And this was going to be the thing that I was most waiting to do, but it was awfully hard to do this with Italy and France and Spain, and all those people were dying, and then we put tariffs on. See, I have a big heart.
Sir, on Ukraine, when Putin says that he really wants peace, do you believe him?
Yeah, I do. I believe he wants peace. I believe that President Putin, when I spoke to him yesterday, I mean, I know him very well. Yeah, I think he wants peace. I think he would tell me if he didn't. I'd like to see peace.
Do you trust President
I
Putin?
believe that, I believe that he would like to see something happen. I trust him on this subject. I think he'd like to see something happen. I think it could have happened a long time ago. I think Biden, number one, it shouldn't have started, but it did. And now all those cities are knocked down, like demolition sites. All those beautiful golden towers are knocked down. There's nothing going to replace them. But much more importantly, you lost millions of people. A lot of soldiers, but you lost millions of people. When they knocked down those cities, and they're all laying down on the side, they're lying down just in ashes and all crumbled up concrete. They literally look like a world-class demolition site. And many of them, almost all of them, but many of them, and this should have been done by Biden years ago. This should have never been allowed to happen. I know he's a friend of yours.
But couldn't Putin just withdraw his
He's a friend of
troops today?
CNN. That's why nobody watches CNN anymore, because they have no credibility. Okay, who else? Yes, please.
Sir, if you can find a buyer in the United States for TikTok, do you think Xi Jinping will authorize the sale of it, or will he?
I'm going to make it worthwhile for China to do it. I think so. I mean, I got to know TikTok because during the election, I ended up with 36% higher than my opponent with youth. Okay, that never happened before. That's always been a Democrat thing, youth. It became a Trump thing. And I think TikTok, I think Joe Rogan was a part of it. Some of the great people that I did interviews with were a part of it. But I think that TikTok was I think it was a big part. Look, as you know, we were up by 36% with youth. The Republican was never up with youth. And I focused on TikTok, and I found it to be amazing, actually, and very fair. And I think the image of TikTok is different than it was before the election. I think people saw it, and they view it as a positive, not a negative. I think it'll be to China's advantage to have the deal be made, yeah.
How much money do you think you'll raise from tariffs on an annual basis?
That's the most interesting question. I think it'll be a staggering amount. It will be the external, I call it the External Revenue Service. That was a name that was devised by a few of us, but I think it's going to be a staggering amount.
We've heard it's the number 1 trillion floated in meetings with senators. Is that a number you've thought of?
I don't know, but already the Senate's saying, well, wait a minute, they're looking at some of the numbers and they're saying, whoa, look, we want to, I say America first, I say make America great again. That's what we're doing. I think it's the most important thing I've signed. I've signed some very important things. Right to try was so important. I mean, a lot of important things. Space Force, the biggest tax cuts in history. This could be one of the most important things that we've ever signed.
Do you expect the Russians and President Putin to attend the summit in Saudi Arabia?
Eventually, yeah. Not quite yet. It's a little early. They're having a meeting in Munich tomorrow. Russia is going to be there with our people. Ukraine is also invited, by the way. Not sure exactly who's going to be there from any country, but high-level people from Russia, from Ukraine, and from the United States.
Do you want to have Russia back to the G7, sir?
I'd love to have them back. I think it was a mistake to throw them out. Look, it's not a question of liking Russia or not liking Russia. It was the G8, and I said, what are you doing? You guys, all you talk about is Russia, and they should be sitting at the table. I think Putin would love to be back. Obama and a couple of other people made a mistake and they got Russia out. It's very possible that if that was the G8, you wouldn't have had the problem with Ukraine. And if I was president, you definitely wouldn't have had the problem with Ukraine. Russia would have never attacked Ukraine. But you ask a very good question, the G8. It used to be the G8, and then these people threw them out. And I was arguing with Trudeau and with numerous of the people. Actually, Prime Minister Abe, a great man from Japan, agreed with me 100%, and some of the others did too. But I got there, it was the G7, as you know. They had already been terminated. I think it would have been very helpful, and it still would be helpful to have Russia be a part of that mix. And I think if they were, I don't think you would have had the problem that you have right now.
Russia
Kicked them
is
out,
part
course,
of the
because
G20.
They kicked them out, of course, because they illegally annexed Crimea. I mean, how would you have responded if Russia invaded or
Well, you
took
know,
over?
they took Crimea during Obama. They took, well, now they're looking to take the whole thing. Then they took a big chunk of land and people, as you know, during Bush. And now they're trying to take the whole thing during Biden. You know, the only one that didn't give them anything is Trump. They never took anything with Trump, nothing, not 2 inches of property of land. But Crimea was Obama. And then Bush gave them a lot, if you remember. And then, in fact, it's a sort of a standard little phrase, and Biden's giving them everything because this is a war that shouldn't have been had. And the only one that didn't give them anything is Trump. It's just the way it is.
What's the message from Wall Street about these tariffs? So there's been some nervousness on Wall Street about the impact.
So, I mean, there hasn't been very much, and I think it's going to make the United States stronger, and in many ways, it could make other countries stronger too. You know, other countries want to have a strong United States. They want to have a strong America, and I think it's going to make us very, very strong, much stronger. And we have a lot of work we're doing on the military. Our military already, I've authorized some contracts to be built that are very substantial. We're building the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest military equipment in the world. We're building it. At some point, when things settle down, I'm going to meet with China, and I'm going to meet with Russia in particular, those two, and I'm going to say there's no reason for us to be spending almost $1 trillion on military. There's no reason for you to be spending $400 billion. China's going to be at 400 billion. We're at $1 trillion. We're going to be at close to $1 trillion. And I'm going to say, we can settle this on, we can spend this on other things. We don't have to spend this on military because, and I'm going to be meeting with China. You know, we were trying to de-escalate nuclear, and I was in a position where Russia had agreed and China had agreed we were going to start, and then we had a rigged election, so that never took place. But this one was too big to rig. We won by so much that it was too big to rig.
You want to do the China meeting in the United States, or would you travel to China for that?
For what?
The China meeting.
I tell people all the time, you know, the question is who's going to have the first meeting, where are you going to, I say this to Putin, to President Xi, I say to everybody, never bothered me, you know, I'm willing to say I'll go first. It doesn't matter. It's the end result that counts. So it doesn't make any difference.
When do you want to have a conversation about global defense spending, you, China,
Well, I'd
Russia?
like to have that, as soon as things settle down, I'm going to have that conference, primarily with China and Russia, because those are the two that really are out there. And we're going to have them spend a lot less money, and we're going to spend a lot less money. And I know they're going to do it. They agreed to it. We were talking about denuking, denuking, and President Putin and I agreed that we were going to do it in a very big way. There's no reason for us to be building brand new nuclear weapons. We already have so many, you could destroy the world 50 times over, 100 times over. And here we are building new nuclear weapons, and they're building nuclear weapons, and China's building new nuclear weapons, and China's trying to catch up because, you know, they're very substantially behind, but within 5 or 6 years, they'll be even. And we're all spending a lot of money that we could be spending on other things that are actually, hopefully, much more productive. Hopefully, there'll never be a time when we need those weapons. If there's ever a time when we need nuclear weapons, like the kind of weapons that we're building and that Russia has and that China has to a lesser extent, but will have, that's going to be a very sad day. That's going to be probably oblivion.
Do you see that as separate conversations, or do you see one giant summit with you, Xi Jinping, and Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, I could see that. let things calm down a little bit. You know, when I left, we had no Middle East problem. We had no Russia going into Ukraine. They never would have done it. Putin never would have done it. And I came back and we got like the whole world is blowing up. So when we straighten it all out, then I want to have one of the first meetings I want to have is with President Xi of China, President Putin of Russia. And I want to say, let's cut our military budget in half. And we can do that. And I think we'll be able to do it.
Elon Musk identifies wasteful spending in the Defense Department, defense contractors and the like. Are you willing to go after that spending as well? That's
We have to go waste, fraud, and abuse. Yeah, and we're doing that.
Could we, I'm just wondering about your conversations on defense spending. Would you want to do that as a trilateral, or would you use the existing body that also already includes China and Russia, the G20?
No, it's the people. It's President Putin, President Xi. I don't need bodies. I don't need anything. It's people. It's all about people. It's about relationship and people. And, you know, I've had a good relationship with President Putin. I've had a good relationship with President Xi. It's about people. And I think when things straighten out, which I hope will be in the not too distant future, the meeting I want to have first is a meeting with China and a meeting with Russia on slowing down, stopping, and reducing nuclear weapons in particular, and also on not having to spend the kind of money we're all spending on weapons, military weapons generally.
I think my question is, would you have those meetings separately with each of those leaders, or would you try to bring them all together?
Both. You start off separately, and that's what was happening. I was dealing with President Putin. We had really an understanding where we were going to denuclearize. What a beautiful term that is, right? Denuclearize. What a great thing if we could do that. And we were going to, he really liked the idea, and so did I. And we had then called China, and China was very open to it. And then COVID hit, and then we had a rigged election. But now there was no rigged election. Now we have an election that was too big to rig. That's what my whole theme was, too big to rig. And they tried, but they didn't pull it off.
Sir, as part of the reciprocal tariffs, would you also direct agencies to study the impact they would have on prices in the U.S.?
No, there's nothing to study. There's nothing to study. It's going to go well. You know, the United States is going to become a very, very strong economically country. Yeah.
Mr. President, in the past you have spoken against BRICS. India is part of BRICS. Do you want to dismantle BRICS, or you want to, US want to be part of it?
I don't care, but BRICS was put there for a bad purpose. And most of those people they don't even want to talk about it now. They're afraid to talk about it because I told them if they want to play games with the dollar, then they're going to be hit with a 100% tariff the day they mention that they want to do it. And they will come back and say, we beg you not to do this. BRICS is dead since I mentioned that. BRICS died the minute I mentioned that. And I remember when Obama and Biden in particular, I guess he said that, they have us over a barrel. They don't have us over a barrel. We have them over a barrel. If BRICS wants to play games, those countries won't trade with us. We won't trade with them. And if any trading gets through, it'll be 100% tariff at least.
On your
What would
cabinet,
be your-
You know what? When they hear that, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to say, look what happened to BRICS. They didn't want to talk about it. They don't even want to admit that they were a member of BRICS. That's what's happened.
On your cabinet, sir, we saw Robert F. Kennedy Jr. get confirmed. He's going to come in here and be sworn in. Mitch McConnell has now voted against several of your nominees. He voted against RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that he wanted to go to the end and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even, and that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money and he gave a lot of money to senators, and so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 25 million, can I take it? I'd say, take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position, so he can't love me. But he's not voting against Bobby, he's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. You know, do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did
You
have
think that was
polio,
easy?
and
What?
He had polio, obviously, and his.
I don't
decided
know,
that
I don't
that
know
was-
anything about he had polio. He had polio.
Are you doubting that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now. He's a very bitter guy, and we have a very strong party. And he's almost not even really a very powerful member. I'd say he's not a. He's lost his power, and it's affected his vote. And it's one of those things. But in the meantime, Bobby did great. Got more votes than anybody thought, and I think he's going to do phenomenally, just phenomenally in that position. And everybody else likewise did well. Not only well, they got more votes than anybody thought. Tulsi, look at how she did. She did great. Marco got 99 votes. How about that? And Marco got 99 votes. And Marco, by the way, I have to tell you, Marco Rubio's done a fantastic job. He's been a great Secretary of State. They're all doing great. But we're going to have a swearing in today, and maybe we're going to have a second one, because I hear we have a couple of them coming up. And the man behind me is doing a fantastic job, Secretary of Commerce. And I think you're going to see something very big come from today's signing. This is going to be a very important signing. Okay?
On U.S. Steel, sir, can I ask very quickly? You said you'd meet with the head of that company and the Japanese
Yeah,
company.
U.S. Steel is going to be here, and a lot of the steel companies are coming. I think steel companies, they love what's happening to them. We saved it. If I didn't do the tariffs from my first term, you wouldn't have one steel company here. You wouldn't have one steel. There wouldn't be a steel company alive in the United States. And right now, they're going to be thriving. They're doing very well, but they're going to be thriving. They're going to be coming out. People are going to want to buy those steel companies like crazy.
Are you still planning to mediate talks between Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel?
Yeah, I don't know. I think U.S. Steel right now has all the power. The tariffs have given U.S. Steel a new lease on life. Okay? Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go.
Let's go, guys.
Thank you, Press.
We leave the stage, right?
That was perfect.
Yeah.
Welcome back to
Perfect
RFK
use.
Live, as we saw there at the White House, there at the Oval Office. And it's interesting, when President Trump holds a press conference, it doesn't need to be behind a podium, it's behind the desk. And we saw
Right.
the Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, there as well. So it was great. We had to pause there because the producer's talking to us about what's coming up next. The RFK swearing in President Trump. Let's go to that right now. And as soon as we get the feed corrected there, we'll be going back to the White House there, where RFK Jr. is getting sworn in. Obviously, a little audio technical difficulty, but again.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. It was very exciting. This is a very exciting day we just had a big tariff meeting, reciprocal tariffs. Should have been done 40 years ago, it wasn't, but it is now. It's a big moment, actually.
It's going to be a real...
affected. And whether you're in a blue state or red state, I'm going to do everything I can to work with you, whether you're Democrat or Republican, to restore child's health in this country. Great job. Great job. Thank you all very much.
3:25 Eastern Time. And then after this RFK Jr. swearing in, then we're going to hear from the president with the Prime Minister Modi of India. So we'll see him greet the Prime Minister outside the West Wing, and then they'll have their time at the Oval Office, which I believe we'll also see a feed of that.
Right.
And then over to the East Room. So if you really started out the day with us here at the network at 9 in the morning, or you were on at 8:30 Eastern, right?
I was, yes, sir.
So since 8:30 until now, all the way for the next few hours, so many stories. I know it's been a lot, but it's great because we're able to really check out live feeds and replays just like this one with RFK Jr.
Office and officially become.
Years ago, it wasn't, but it is now. It's a big moment, actually.
Even more. You know, I can hear the crowd going, oh, come on. Hey, we're with you. So when we hear a cue to go, we obviously throw it to the video. What's happening is the live feed that's being sent back, or the recorded feed of what just happened, simple as this. The cameraman inside the White House will hit play, and then sometimes hit stop to rewind to make sure all the feeds and the networks are ready to receive a feed. It's just this whole thing. So we keep seeing the feed come up on our end, and we're going to it, but it's not specifically ready, and they're not going to play it in its entirety yet for whatever reason. We are on this side of the camera. Those technical things, man, I applaud our guys, by the way, for how they're handling all of the different feeds that are happening. But again, all of this, you know, you just work through it. You just keep going. It is what it is, right? It's live TV.
That's
but
part of it.
The point is, it's all to show you the common sense reporting when it comes to live events and slightly delayed reporting as well of various events. So it's going to be awesome once we get the feed to see RFK Jr. Finally, guys, can we step back for a second and realize that he is going to be the director of and the secretary of Health and Human Services. So make America healthy again. It's time to celebrate.
Yes, it really is. I mean, this will be transformational governance. And again, he prayed for 2 decades. Get me to a position of influence so I can help serve my common people, the common good, and my neighbors and my fellow countrymen. And he said God sent him Donald Trump. So this has been his life's work for clean air, clean energy, clean water, and getting rid of the chronic disease epidemic in America, and really finding out the answers as to why 1 in 30 children obtaining autism or autoimmune diseases, the allergies. I mean, I can remember a time when the peanut allergy. Remember when airlines just give you peanuts? Like now it seems like every other person has a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
Exactly.
Maybe he can find out why.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the toxins in our food, a lot of that processing junk that all of us have eaten before. You know, I mean, I was just eating some food just a second ago while we were watching the president. You know, it's always, my family is funny. They say, always buy from the outside aisles of the grocery store. Don't get the stuff from the inside. But, you know, still, to the point though, and not everything in the inside has a toxin in it, but I'm just saying it's just cleaning up all of our food in America. We know that as soon as RFK Jr. is sworn in today, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow or on Monday, there are some huge announcements about the processing of our foods and how things go. I'm not an expert in the farming industry and all of that, but I do know, hey, the word organic, we really wish all of it was organic. Why wouldn't it be? Like,
exactly.
It's coming from the earth, and you know, we want to eat healthy again. And this is a good time. Maybe we should get Megan Kohler on the show because she loves Make America Healthy
Absolutely.
again.
I mean, it's
Introduce Robert F. Kennedy Jr., take the oath of office and officially become our Secretary of Health and Human Services. Just as I promised last year, Bobby is going to lead a great national mission to make America healthy again. And he's going to do it. I think he's going to do things that will really make us very proud of this day. Like his father, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and his uncle, President John F. Kennedy, Bobby has devoted much of his life to serving his fellow Americans. In his campaign for president, And he was a very tough competitor. I did not like it at all. I said, let's get him on my side. But in his campaign for president in 2024, Bobby brought together a coalition of supporters across party lines, and he really worked very hard, and he had tremendous support, unbelievable support. And I think a lot of that support came my way when we decided to do a little merger, and it was really great. And it was very loyal, incredible people. They believe in him so strongly because he's a fierce advocate for the health of our children and for the values of free speech, democracy, and peace. And people are going to be very impressed, I have no doubt. I've known him a long time. He's been a friend of mine a long time. Perhaps most importantly, though, Bobby created a nationwide movement made up of millions and millions of mothers and fathers and young people and concerned citizens of every background who want to end and this horrible chronic disease crisis that exists in America. He's absolutely committed to getting dangerous chemicals out of our environment and out of our food supply and getting the American people the facts and the answers that we deserve. After years in which our public health system has squandered the trust of our citizens, and they really have. They don't trust us. They don't trust anybody, frankly. They've gone through hell. There's no better person to lead our campaign of historic reforms and restore faith in American health care. Bobby's going to do it. The United States spends more money in health than any other country on earth, but we're growing sicker every year. We're not as healthy as countries that spend just a fraction of what we spend, so there's something wrong. He's going to figure it out. In recent decades, we've seen staggering increases in cancer rates across all age demographics, including more than 40% increase in childhood cancer since 1975. Who can believe that? And an explosion in other chronic childhood illnesses. Not long ago, 1 in 10,000 people, children, had autism. Now it's 1 in 36. Think of that. 1 in 10,000. 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 36. Who can believe that? There's something wrong. There's something wrong. And I think it's something that can be found out. In 2022, more than 40% of children had at least one chronic health condition, and today nearly 80% of young adults do not qualify for military service, in large part for health reasons. Think of that, 80%. Something is wrong, and that's why immediately after Bobby is sworn in, I will be signing an executive order establishing the President's Commission to make America healthy again. We have some great people on that commission. Chaired by our new secretary, this groundbreaking commission will be charged with investigating what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic illness, reporting its findings, and delivering an action plan to the American people. And it's going to be a plan that people are really waiting to hear. Bobby, I want to thank you. You've gone through a lot. It's taken great courage. You've been amazing, actually. I'd call him and say, you're going to be okay. And he said, I know, I really do. He's really been supported amazingly by Cheryl and his family. And it was very tough. It was a very nasty group of people that were after him, but he was tougher and he was smarter than they are. And that's why he's here today. There are very few people that could have withstood the assault, but he was able to. So I just want to congratulate you, and we have a very special person here to swear you in, a man that I think has done just, I think he's just an amazing man. As you know, his name happens to be Gorsuch, and he's a member of the Supreme Court in extremely good standing. He's highly respected by everybody, and I didn't know, are you two friends or something, or did this just happen to be the justice? Did this just happen to be the luck of the draw? What happened?
I reached out to him.
Did you reach out? Well, you reached out to a very good man, so please, if you would. Thank you very much.
Oh, this has to be done first.
I'm going to make this a good one, right? Okay, it's good so far. Good. It's a 10.
Go in there, get the kids in there. Go in there.
Over here, please. Really happy.
Would all the family like to join? Yes, sure. All right. Please place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Repeat after me. I, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
I, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
on which I am about to enter,
on which I'm about to enter,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Secretary.
I want to begin by thanking President Trump for giving me this extraordinary opportunity, and I want to introduce my family and thank them for being here. My wife Cheryl, my cousin Anthony Shriver, my daughter Kik, my other daughter Kira, Carolina Shriver, Joey Shriver, Jackson Hines, and Amaryllis Kennedy. And I want to thank all of you for your support and throughout this whole 2.5-year journey. My first time in this Oval Office was in 1961, and I came here to meet, or 1962. I came here and I had a meeting with my uncle, who was president then, where we talked about the environment. He was involved deeply, as we all know, in restoring physical fitness in this country. He challenged at one point during his administration, he challenged Americans to do a 50-mile walk, which I ultimately did, but I remember the day that my father completed his walk. We were staying up at Camp David, and my father came in after 18 hours walking on the CNO towpath with his feet bleeding and blisters on them. My father had one of his best friends was Al Lowenstein. And Al Lowenstein ultimately was a congressman from New York who was assassinated himself in 1980. But Al Lowenstein had started the Dump Johnson movement to get rid of President Johnson and end the Vietnam War. And at the time that he started it, people just thought it was a fool's errand. And ultimately, he asked my father to run for president against Johnson. My father wouldn't do it at that time, and he asked Gene McCarthy. McCarthy did it, and he joined that campaign. And my father ultimately ran, and Johnson then dropped out. So Al Lowenstein succeeded. And although Al Lowenstein was on the other side now, running against my father with Gene McCarthy, my father wrote him a note, a quote from Emerson, where he said, "If a single man plants himself firmly on his own ideal and there abide, the whole wide world will come around to him." For 20 years, I've gotten up every morning on my knees and prayed that God would put me in a position where I can end the childhood chronic disease epidemic in this country. On August 23rd of last year, God sent me President Trump.
All right.
And he gave me and we did a handshake, and everything that he told me he was going to do, he has done.
Right.
And I'm so grateful to him, and I've told you before, I genuinely believe that you are a pivotal historical figure, and you are going to transform this country at a time when we see all of the indicia of democracy now in tatters in our country. We see the rise of the military-industrial complex, the rise of totalitarianism, these attacks on our Constitution, and this breathtaking epidemic that is disabling our people. President Trump has promised to restore the American dream in this country. A healthy person has 1,000 dreams. A sick person only has one. 60% of our population has only one dream, that they get better. President Trump has promised that he's going to restore America's strength. But we can't be a strong nation if we have a weak citizenry. If people are sick, 60% of our people are sick, 77%, as President Trump mentioned, our children cannot qualify for military service. And we need a man on a white horse now. We need somebody who is willing to come in and has the spine and the guts and the strength to challenge orthodoxies, to stand in the way of vested interests, and to break institutions that have turned against our democracy. President Trump has shown again and again that he is that hero. And most recently, I greatly appreciate, and I called you the day that you announced the termination of USAID. My uncle started USAID in 1961 for humanitarian purposes, to put our country on the side of the poor. It has been captured by the military-industrial complex. It has become a sinister propagator of totalitarianism and war across the globe. And very few people understand how sinister this agency really is. And President Trump saw that, and he stood up to it with a masterstroke. And we want to do the same thing with the institutions that are stealing the health of our children. We need a revolutionary figure, and you are that figure, and I'm very grateful for you for giving me this opportunity. I want to recognize some of the allies that I've had in this battle for a long time are Senator Rand Paul, Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Roger Marshall, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Buddy Carter, who've all been champions of the MAHA agenda before I even came along. I'm very grateful for you for standing strong. Thank you very much, President.
Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask, what plans do you have immediately at HHS now that you're sworn in?
He's going to be running it. He's going to do a great job.
What would you like to
That's
see
my
him do
plan.
first?
We're going to find out a lot of secrets that have been maybe kept from us, but he's going to come up with some solutions to some big problems, self problems. I think he's going to go down in the record books. I really have confidence. This group has great, even Rand has confidence.
If I could ask you, Mr. Secretary, do you plan to fire anyone immediately, or what are your plans on day one, which I guess is today?
Our plans are radical transparency and returning gold standard science to NIH, the FDA, and CDC, to ending the corruption, ending the corporate capture of those agencies, getting rid of the people on those panels that have conflicts of interest. We can do unadored and unimpeded science rather than the kind of product that is coming out of those agencies today.
Mr. Secretary, may I ask, how do you address concerns that some Americans may have about the stance on vaccine?
When people actually hear what I think about vaccines, which is common sense, which is vaccines should be tested, they should be safe, everybody should have informed consent. People are reacting because they hear things about me that aren't true. They hear characterizations of things that I've said that are simply not true. And they hear what I have to say actually about vaccines. Everybody supports it.
Mr. Kennedy, Kara Kashinova from Lindell TV. What's your message to Democrats in the Senate that fought so hard to keep you from taking this position? And congratulations, by the way.
President Trump has promised to be the president for all Americans, and he has said to me that he understands that there's no such thing as Republican children or Democratic children. All of our children need to be protected. And whether you're in a blue state or red state, I'm going to do everything I can to work with you, whether you're Democrat or Republican, to restore child's health in this country.
Mr. Secretary.
Great job. Great job. Thank you all very much.
All right, guys, thanks, guys. What's up, guys?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Let's go quickly, please. Quickly, guys, come on.
Kennedy Jr., think about the legacy. I mean, talking about his father, talking about everything that the family has fought for so many years, just steps away from that resolute desk. Once where his uncle, JFK, the 35th president, proudly served from. And they were joined by Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, also Senator Ron Johnson, Senator Rand Paul, in addition to the Kennedy family. God bless them, as we had Mr. Gorsuch, the Supreme Court Justice, swear Mr. Kennedy into office. And we're joined now by fellow Californian and Republican strategist, Katie Zachariah. And we're very excited to see you, have you back on the show here. And thank you for joining us. Some of your thoughts on Secretary Kennedy coming into office to serve at HHS.
It's actually a pretty profound moment. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. transformed my life out here in California. He is a Californian. And during the pandemic, his voice absolutely shaped every position I had and my response to the tyrannical measures that our Governor Gavin Newsom was taking. His book, The Real Anthony Fauci, is one that every single person should read, especially those who don't necessarily know how they feel about RFK Jr. He is medically sound, backed by every journal. He is just a brilliant, brilliant man, and I couldn't be more excited for this. I could not be.
Well, Katie, let's talk about that then, in the sense of we're seeing with DOJ, now we're going to see with RFK Jr. and just pretty much the entire federal government really uncovering corruption in every section of government to just make America great again. What are your thoughts just about the amount of common sense leadership that we're seeing right now?
So in particular, specifically to RFK Jr., I think what Elon's doing with DOJ through these other departments, and I'm sure you saw that they're at the IRS today, I feel that RFK Jr. will with the CDC, NIH, FDA, right? That what we're seeing with DOJ on a larger platform, I cannot wait to see what RFK Jr. is going to do with the CDC, with the FDA, and with the NIH. I mean, to have that kind of visibility now that he's going to have, the access that he's going to have, and the ability to really upend a lot of these programs that have been detrimental to our society rather than helpful, like CDC during the pandemic. I think he's going to expose all of the fraud, misinformation, disinformation, but also all of the money, the pharmaceutical money that is being made and who's making it. And I think that'll also be really, a help allude to the vote of 52-48, who's getting these kickbacks from Big Pharma. I'm really excited for this, and I think RFK Jr. is going to do again what Elon's doing with all these other groups to the NIH, CDC, and FDA.
And Brooke Rollins was confirmed to be the next Secretary of Agriculture. We also had Kash Patel coming out of the Judiciary Committee today on a strict partisan vote of 12-10. Please give us some thoughts on those two nominees.
Yeah, I feel that President Trump's press conference today on the reciprocal tariffs, I'm sure it was on earlier with Brooke Rollins coming in for ag. She had a 72-28 confirmation, which is a decisive showing for her. And I think that she's going to be looking at a lot of these. China put a tariff on our grains. And so, again, I think there's a reason why President Trump did this reciprocal tariff press conference in conjunction with some of these nominations and confirmations. Brooke Rollins is going to have a heavy task, and I think she's going to really be able to bring back our agricultural department. I think she's going to bring back American agriculture and not have to do these, this tariff war with China, because she's going to have the amazing support of President Trump. As it pertains to Kash Patel, that is probably the one who I'm most excited about to see confirmed.
phone is charging there. Here, my friend here. He's adjustable. Hold her. Okay. Yeah.
You know what, dude? I realize I can only hear out of the right ear. It's that bag. It's the that headset's busted. I had someone else talking about that the other day. Okay. Yeah, what do I know? Should be no problem. We got extra ones. Just gotta switch it out when you get back. Yeah, it's that bag specifically. Trying, I can't get it. Yes, because I'm a shellback, so I try to. That's a tradition. What time should I press record? Would it be obvious, or once you see someone, or once a car is pulling up. Oh, okay. Normally I like to do it like before then. You can hit record as early as you want. I just try to wait close to actual time. You don't want 30 minutes of audio for a 10-second clip. Oh dang, just 10 seconds. Oh, you need more of that? Yeah, I'm good. Chili. I'm good. Hey man, you stay in DC, man. No, I've got other career goals. It's ready. Yeah. Oh, don't hit my legs. With your head. Not yet. When the flag's still up. Okay. Hey, Dad. Huh? CNN. Hello, Alex. How are you? Good. No video today? No video today? Not for this. Right. Okay. That's true. And last time the flag was blocking me, I got nothing. Yeah. You owe me $30. No, wait, $20. I can read a lot more than that. Just regular. Whoa. Well, my photo mechanic, so yeah. I said we are right. I think it was going by you. It's going to be real close. If he's late, it's better. If the sun is still out there. But that is warmer up here. What? What's that?
Alcohol?
pair of rockers? Yeah, I still need to get them sewn on. Okay. I still don't have life. I'll go to Master Chief. I've gone to his office 6 times and he's either not there or in a meeting. So I keep having to like go back. Just bad timing. Are you going 399 tomorrow? Yeah. Okay. Are you gonna be there? Yeah. Nice. Yeah, for the training. Yeah. Yeah. I'll try and go tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. 6 times, dude? Yeah. It's always just bad timing. Like I go there and they've got like a sign on the door that says like meeting in progress, or I go there and he's not in his office. Then he emailed me and was like, hey, if I'm ever not in the office, just go in and get him. I was like, sweet, but then I'm never down there, so. Yeah, man, I gotta update my sleeves to gold come April 4th. Oh, shoot. It's like, yeah, man, as long as 10 years? 10? It's 12. 12? Yeah. Dang. Yeah, I know, right? Might as well extend here until I'm done. Yeah. I just hit 8. Or I'll be 9 in May, I guess. Hey, man, might as well be.
News of the day. We saw, of course, RFK Jr. confirmed and now sworn in. We saw Kash Patel go to the next level of a final vote coming up, right? With the cloture vote, correct?
Well, actually, it was just out of committee, so then he'll have the cloture vote for the entire U.S. Senate. But in a sense, it's a cloture vote for the committee, getting him out of there because it has ended debate. There's no more discussion upon it. Of course, the Democrats had plenty of conspiracy theories to peddle against Mr. Kash Patel today, but it will not hold up. And I think ultimately you may see a party line vote on this, or you might even see Mitch McConnell, who has been a massive disappointment with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. in these last 2 votes. It might be another 52-48, but thank God that we have enough people in the Senate to get these highly qualified appointees through.
It's pretty wild to think that the extreme left radical, whether it's judges or whether it's people in Congress or the mainstream media, is a small number of people. Again, for years, we've been thinking that half of the country really believes in all these really woke policies and all these lies. And, you know, a number of them, I believe, know that it was a lie. Right. A lot of the lies that have been told, and they just kind of kept it in. But I think a lot of people are also saying, you know what, man, I need common sense in my life. I want better safety. I want more health. I want more money in my pocket. I want my constitutional rights. I don't want to wind up like that country with that leader. And I can name a couple countries right now, but I'll keep it cool because it's sad to see a place, I'm going to have to say it, like the United Kingdom. You know, I'd love to see Nigel Farage as the Prime Minister of the UK. I mean, that guy is based as President Trump in the sense of he wants to make Britain great. You know, so and also a big supporter of President Trump. So it'd be great to have those kind of leaders in countries like the UK and anywhere in the world, really. I mean, because the free world, the people want that kind of leader.
No question. That's what we are looking to do, not only here in America, but across the world. And we'll talk about it at CPAC because CPAC's a huge celebration of not only domestic policy, but I think about Brazil and Japan and Italy and Hungary and the UK, even in those movements where you see populism on the rise. And we are fortunate enough to actually attend the Union Jack and Stars and Stripes Ball during the inauguration. And it was great to catch up with Mr. Farage and some other wonderful friends in the media and who have been part of this populist movement in order to make America great again and to bring, you know, true peace to the Western world. And Europe is such an interesting mix right now. And sadly, for the United Kingdom, communists are in charge, especially the mayor of London. They have threatened to arrest Americans who go to London in order, based on their comments, almost like a social credit score like China has. I would just say good luck and remember that the hostages that other countries take of Americans, President Trump has gotten 11 back in 24 days. And that's a warning to you, Hamas. You have less than 48 hours now to release all the hostages. If you don't, there will be hell to pay, as President Trump said.
And that is noon on Saturday, the deadline President Trump spoke about earlier in the week. We will see what transpires possibly this weekend. Also, speaking of this weekend, shifting gears, no pun intended, Sunday, Daytona 500, President Trump will be there in Florida for that great race. So just a lot going on from today all the way through the weekend. And of course, on as we cover a lot of America First news here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. For those of you that are just joining us and haven't been able to join us earlier for our coverage, there is a quote that I believe we have a slide for that we can show. If not, if we can't show the slide, I do want to share with you a quote from President Trump on January 20th, 2025. He said, quote, "In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God." President Trump on January 20th, 2025, a powerful, powerful moment in time there at the Rotunda, the U.S. Capitol building. And Robert, can you believe that that was actually just, how many days ago? Like, we feel like it's been 3 years of coverage at this point in a good way, because it's been a lot of great things happening.
Yeah, there's plenty to talk about every day, and it's great to see that the cabinet is almost fully unified and together with every position filled. We're getting there. It seems like the U.S. Senate is actually ramping up its process, which is nice to see because the Democrats tried to delay a number of cabinet positions, but that will be a great picture to see them all together for their first official meeting.
Exactly. It will be great to see that. Also, earlier in the week, the White House on X posted an Elon Musk quote, and it said, "The people voted for major government reform, and that is what the people are going to get." So that's kind of it. You know, it's very common sense leadership that we're seeing at this White House.
Right. Oh, there's no question about that, because President Trump came in here as an outsider, and he blew up the modern America, the modern American political system of, really Republicans and Democrats. If you put them into a satchel and shook them up in D.C., you really couldn't see a difference. All of their colors would bleed and run together. And then it was we the people who got screwed, quite frankly, by things like NAFTA and other programs put on by Bill Clinton, George W. Bush with the nation building and invading Iraq. And you think about the Patriot Act, my goodness, talk about domestic surveillance. And then Barack Obama runs against that as arguably a populist, and then ends up adopting most of Bush's policies, if not enhancing them. And then, of course, we had the absolute complete failure of Joseph R. Biden Jr. that, my goodness, if you even go to Bill O'Reilly's list of good and bad presidents, he's one of the worst. He's number 2.
What was it? Who's that again? What's his name?
Joe Biden.
Yeah, I'd never heard of him.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, because he didn't do anything for this country that was positive.
It's terrible.
So we're glad to see the wins happening. A lot of people are posting that on X and on Truth. Just people are saying, "Are you tired of winning yet?" It's
But President Trump did not come to welcome him at the door. So this is the team.
House there. So next up is the Oval Office meeting between the President and the Prime Minister. As soon as we get a live feed or a replay of a feed, we will show that to you. And specifically later at the East Room, usually the East Room White House speeches by President Trump and a world leader will be live in real time. And
if tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. And thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. And thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Yeah, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. And thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. And thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Yeah. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Yeah, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. And thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't